this session, we'll be studying about built-in functions with list. Now, just like in strings, in list also we have a set of built-in function that comes along with Python. So built-in functions are functions that are already available in Python to perform various operations on list. It is very important that you know at least the important built-in functions, right? Because many operations on list can be done with built-in functions much easier than you writing your own code to achieve the same thing. Now, some of the examples of built-in function in list are len, which finds the length of a list. Then we have append, insert, extend. The list goes on. Actually, there is a big number of built-in functions which can work on list, so we will not be able to cover everything, but whatever is necessary for our course of study we'll see now. Now, before we start with built-in function, we just have to understand there's a concept called as nested list. Now, we have studied about nested loops when we study the chapter for flow control. Now, nested loop, you remember, you can write a for loop. Okay, so inside the for loop you can have some statement. Now inside one of those statements can be another for loop, and you can have a for loop inside another for loop. So this situation was called as nested loops. Okay, so now you apply the same thing to list, you will get nested list. So list within another list is called as a nested list. So now we will see this example, list 1, which has a nested list inside it. To make you understand it clearly, I have highlighted it in yellow color. So list 1 altogether has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. So here you can see 23 is available at index 0, 45 available at index 1. This entire list, which has value 1, 3, 5, 7 inside it, is available at index 2, then 34 at index 3, and 89 at index 4. So now if I write list 1, 3, you know the value of list 1, 3 is 34 because 34 is available at index value 3. But if I write like this, list 1, 2, then it is going to give me the entire content of this list. So the result is going to be 1, 3, 5, 7. But what if you have to extract individual elements of this list? You want to get this 3 alone or this 5 alone. Now in that case, you have to go with 2 indexes. So you see inside this index 2, again, we have a sub-index for each of the elements inside this inner list. So the first element is having index value 0, the second element is having index value 1, 2, and 3. And all of this index comes under index value 2. So you can consider it like a tree. So now if you want to access this value 3, then you have to give 2 index value to list 1. Okay, so the first value will be the position of inner list, which is index 2. Second index, you have to give it in second square bracket. And you can see inside this inner list, 3 is available at position 1. So you have to give 1 over here. This will return value 3. So similarly, if you want to get this value 7 out of list 1, then you have to give list 1 with index value 2 and sub-index 3. Okay, so 2 and 3 will extract the value 7 from this inner list, and if you just print this value, you will get the output as 7. 2 indices are used to access elements of a nested list. Now for example, you can write like this, list I, j, where I stands for its place in list 1, so that is 2. Okay, so the inner list is available at position 2, and j stands for its place in the nested list. So if I am looking for value 7, 3 is the position inside the inner list. Okay, so that is the concept of I and j. Now we have list 2, 1, which will extract value 3 from list 1. Okay, so now let us continue. Now we have a set of programs which will demonstrate the built-in functions in list. Now we have 2 lists and a string initialized over here, right? So list 1 have these values inside it. Then we have a string So this is not a list, okay, this is a string, because you can see it starts and ends with a quote. We don't have the square bracket, so this is just a string, and length is stored into str1, and we have another list2 with some integer values inside it. So now let us see each print statement and let us see what is their output. So the first print statement is trying to print the length of list1. Okay, so you just count how many elements are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the output of this print statement is going to be 6. Now in the second print statement, I am trying to create a list from this string. Okay, you can see str1 is a string and it has a word inside it, learn. Now I am trying to convert the string into a list. So if you call the built-in function list with the argument str1, then it will create a list by taking each character as separate elements in the list. So it will take the first character L from str1 and it will be loaded as the first element in the list. Then it will put a comma. It will take the second character from str1. It will be loaded as the second element. Then it will take the third character, fourth character. It will go until this last character, until this n, and it will stop. So now we have a new list with each character taken as individual element from the string. And now we read the command over here. So this function list creates a list if a sequence is passed as argument. Any sequence can be given as input over here. So there are three sequences that we have studied in Python. We have string, right? Or we can have a list, or we can have a tuple. So I can actually give a string as input to here, or I can actually give a list itself over here. So now you will have a little confusion why I have to create a list from a list itself. So we have a special purpose, we will see that later. You can also give a tuple inside here that will be converted to a list. Okay, so that is why it is written, you can give any sequence to the function list. It will create a new list from that sequence. Okay. Now the third print statement, I'm just calling the built-in function list with no arguments inside. In this case, it will just create a blank list. Nothing will be inside it. Now the next built-in function that we are going to study is append. Now you have to call append first by giving the name of the list, that is list1 dot append, and inside you can give the value that you have to append to the list. Append means join at the end. So you can see this will append a single element at the end of the list. So now we are working on list1. So this is list1. So once you call append, what will happen? It will put a comma and it will add value 50 to this list. Okay, so that's the job of append. You can join additional elements to existing list. So after you append, if you try to print list1, it will print 2, 6.8, learn 76, 45, 9 and 50. Now with the next built-in function that we are going to study is extend. Now extend also should be called with the name of list. So list1.extend, and then you can give the name of the list which you want to add to list1. Okay, so basically this is appending list2 to the end of list1. So if you call the extend function like this, which means I will call it with list1 and list2 is given as the argument, in that case first it will take all the values from list1, put a comma, okay, list1, then it will add all the values from list2 and create a big list like this. Now if you invert the variable names like this, list2 dot extend, and inside the bracket if you provide list1, now what will happen? First it will take the content of list2, after that it will put a comma, then it will add the content of list1. So there is a difference in output when you interchange these variables, right? So based on the output that you require, you have to use the variables accordingly. After that, if I try to print list 1, you can see to list 1, I have joined the entire content of list 2. So now list 1 has grown in size, so that the entire content of list 1 and list 2 will be printed over here, because we extend list 1 with the contents of list 2. The next statement, you can see we are calling a function called insert. Now here also you can see I'm trying to insert in list 1 at position 2. I have to insert this new element. Okay, so I will just write the content of list 1, that is 2, 6.8, and after that you have a word called learn. Then you have 76, then 45, something, it goes like that, right? It's a big list now. Now if I write the index value, 2 is available at index 0, 6.8 is available at index 1, learn is available at index 2, 76 is available at index 3, it goes like that. Now in this situation, if I am calling insert on list 1 and I am asking to insert this element, it can be anything, okay? It can be a number, it can be a floating point number, it can be another list also, there is no problem. So I'm trying to enter this word lens at index value 2. So right now at index value 2, I have a word called learn. So what will happen, starting from learn, the entire content will be pushed right side one index value, right? So now it will make learn, so 2 will be available here, it will be blank. It will make learn now coming under index 3, so 76 will be index 4, 45 will be index 5, and at position 2 it will enter the new word lens. Okay, so that is why I told you, starting from learn, every element will be moved one position to the right. Okay, and at position 2 the new word will be inserted. And after that, if you print the list 1, you can see lens is added as the third element in the list. Okay, so now let us run the program. So program is ready, let me run it. So here you can see the result. Okay, so the first print statement prints the length of list 1. You can see it is coming as 6. The next built-in function list will convert this string str1 into a list. So here you can see it is converted, each character is taken and a new list is created. If I call the function list with no arguments inside, now in that case I will get an empty list. Now after I append value 50 to list 1 and then I print list 1, you can see now for list 1 value 50 is added. Now I am trying to extend list 1 by adding all elements of list 2 to list 1, and then you print list 1, you will get this as the result. So you can see up till 50 this is list 1, and after that I have just added list 2. Okay, so now list 1 is big in size, right? So that is why when I print list 1 I will get this. Now finally, if I try to insert the word lens at index value 2 to list 1 and then I print list 1, I will get this output. So here you can see at index value 2 I have added the word lens, and starting from learn, you can see starting from learn to end of the list, everything is pushed to the right side to make space for lens. Okay, so now let us continue. Now in this program also we are trying to continue our study on built-in functions on list. In this program we require only one list, okay, and some elements are stored into it. You can see it here. Now the first print statement, I am trying to count how many times the number 9 appears in this list. Okay, so here you can see 9 appear one time, and here also 9 is appearing the second time. So the result will be printed as 2. In place of 9 you can give a string, you can give a floating point number. It will just search, find it and count it and give you the result. Now the second print statement, I am trying to print the index value if 76 is available inside list 1. So here it will start to search inside the list, and finally when it finds 76, it will print the index value of 76. So here if I write the index values, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 76 is available at index value 4. So the output of this line is going to be 4. Now we should know the return index value will be of the first occurrence of 76, which means that if in this list, if I have another 76 coming over here at index value 7, now in that case, index 7 will not be returned. The index value of the first occurrence of 76 will be printed out. In the next statement, we have a reverse built-in function. It will just reverse the order of list. So the last element, 9, will become the first element, 45 will become the next element. Now the first element 2 in this list will go as the last element. After that, when you print list 1, you will understand the order of list 1 has reversed. Now in the next statement, we will study a function called remove. So this function will remove value 9 if it is available inside list 1. But here you should know it will remove only the first occurrence of 9. So if 9 is coming 3 times, only the first 9 will be removed. The other 2 9s will be available inside the list. So here you can see we have 2 9s, but right now we have just reversed it. So you can see this 9 will be coming as first 9, so that will be removed. And after that, when you print list 1, you can see the first 9 will be removed. Now the first part of our program is done. Now for the next part, we are going to study about a new built-in function called pop. Okay, so to understand pop, I will create a new list called list2. Okay, and it has some elements inside it. So I will just put the index values here. So the next statement, we are calling a function called pop with no arguments inside it on list2. Now in this case, this will remove the last element from list 1. Okay, so Python will be removed and it will be printed. Okay, so by using pop function, you can get one element from list at a time in an order starting from the last element. Okay, so first time when I call pop, Python will be removed. If I call pop again with list 2, 34 will be removed and it is also deleted from the list. Okay, and if I call pop again, 67.9 will be taken and it will be removed. It goes like that. So you can extract one value at a time from list using pop built-in function. Now in the next statement, you can see I have called the same function pop, but this time I have used an index value. Now if you use an index value, then pop will exactly take that value and then print it outside or just give it to you for processing. Now we are interested in the number stored at index value 2. So we are referring to 67.9. So pop will just take this value and push it out of the list. Okay, so this will be removed. 34 and Python will be moved one place to the left. Okay, to fill the gap, and you will be given with value 67.9 for processing. Right now I am printing it, so it will be just displayed on the screen. After calling pop function twice on list 2, and then if you try to print list 2, you can see it will have only 5 hello. 67.9 will not be there because due to this pop function it is removed. Then you have 34, and Python also will not be there because that is removed by the first pop function call. Okay, so now the list 2 will be having only 3 elements inside it because 2 elements we have popped out. So now let us run this program. So now we will just run the program and see the result. Okay, so now the first print statement is counting how many 9s are there in list 1. So you can see the answer is 2. Now next it is trying to find out the first occurrence of 76 in list 1 and print the index value. So here you can see 76 is coming here and is available at index value 4. So that is why 4 is printed out. Next I will reverse list 1. So now the content of list 1 is reversed, and after that I'll print list 1. You can see this is the reverse list. So here you can see the last 9 is coming as first 9 and the first 2 has gone as the last element. Okay, so the entire list is reversed. So we should know now this is the content of list 1. Now the next function, I'll try to remove value 9 from list 1. This will remove only the first occurrence of 9. Now it will check this content of list 1. It finds 9 in the first position itself. It will just remove it, and then this is the resulting list 1. So when you print list 1 after you remove 9, this will be the output. Okay, you can see the first 9 is removed. Now we start with list 2. So this is the content of list 2. Now first I will call pop without any argument. So the last element will be pushed outside of list. Okay, so Python is removed from the list and it is printed out. Okay, so you see Python here. Next I am trying to pop value available at index 2. So 67.9 will be deleted from the list and pushed outside, and it is printed. So 67.9 will be printed. After that you try to print list 2. List 2 will have now values 5, hello and 34 only, because 67.9 and Python was popped out while calling this function twice. So now let us continue. Now we are going to continue our study on built-in function with list. So here I have two lists. You can see list 1 and list 2. So now we'll start. Now the first function that we are going to study is sort. Okay, so this will sort the content of list 1 in ascending order. So it will pick the smallest value and put it as the first value. Then it will pick the next smallest value, 6.8, then 12, then 22, then 45. This will be the result if I sort the content of list 1. Okay, it is sorting in ascending order. So after that, if you print list 1, you can see this will be the content of list 1 now. Okay, so that will be printed over here. The next function that we are going to study is also used for sorting. So here you can see this is sorted. This is just sort. And there is one more difference. The first built-in function is called list variable name dot sort, but here it is just the function name sorted, and inside the argument you have to provide the list. Okay, now what is the difference between the first sort and the second sort? The first sort will sort the value and then overwrite list 1. So that is why I told you now the content of list 1 is changed like this. So when I print list 1, you can see here, when we run the program, you will see that list 1 content is changed permanently like this. So the earlier order is lost. But in the second option, now here you can see list 2 will be sorted, and the sorted value will be stored into a new list called list 3. So the content of list 2 will not change. So in this built-in function sorted, it will take the value of list 2, it will sort it. Okay, so first value will be 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. So this is a sorted value of list 2. Now this will not be written over list 2. This will be stored into a new list called list 3. So now list 2 has the original content and list 3 has the sorted content. Now after you sort, if you print list 2, you will get result as 31957, and after that if you print list 3, you will get 13579. So we didn't change list 2, we sort it and write it to a new list, list 3. So based on your requirement inside the program, you can decide which sort function you have to use. Now the next three functions is trivial. You can see we have min, max and sum. Right, so min will return the minimum value from list 2, so the answer is going to be 1. Max will take the maximum element from list 2, so it will print 9, and sum will just add all the elements inside list 2, and whatever is the sum value, that will be printed out. Now let us execute this program. So you can see the result here. So the first function sort will sort the content of list 1, and then it will overwrite list 1. Okay, so that is why when you print list 1, you can see now the content of list 1 is sorted. So the order of elements which I stored in list 1 is lost, because now list 1 is storing elements in ascending order. Now if you don't want that to happen, then you can call the sorted function with the value in list 2. So the sorted function will arrange the elements of list 2 in ascending order, but it will not change anything in list 2. That new ordered list will be moved into list 3. So now you can see when I print list 2, you see the original content of list 2. You see 31957. So sorted function didn't change list 2. And then when you try to print list 3, you can see list 3 has the sorted content of list 2. So this is what I told, based on your program's requirement, you can decide whether I will use sort or sorted. Now if you print the minimum value of list 2, the answer is 1. If you try to get the maximum value from list 2, the answer is 9. And if you want the sum of all elements from list 2, it will add everything, and the sum 25 will be printed out. So now let us continue. Now how to copy a list to another list. Now you'll be thinking this is an easy job. I just have to write list 2 equal to list 1. This will copy the content of list 1 to list 2. But we have a little problem with the memory allocation, because now list 1 and list 2 are not two separate copies. They are referring to the same single list which is stored inside the memory. Okay, this we have discussed in the first chapter when we were discussing about memory allocation for variables. So if I create list 1 with value 1, 2, 3, 4 inside the memory, inside the computer's memory, I will create an area for storing the list, and I will store the value 1, 2, 3, 4, and I will create a variable list 1, and that will be referring to this memory unit. So we have seen this before. Now if I write list 2 equal to list 1, what is happening? I'm not actually copying this entire content inside memory to another memory unit. It's not happening. I'm just creating another variable list 2, and list 2 is pointing to the same location. So here you see that we have only one copy of list in memory, even though we have two variables pointing to it. So the problem with this is that any change made to list 1 will automatically affect list 2, and any change made in list 2 will automatically affect list 1. For example, if I write list 1 dot 0 is equal to 10. So what is happening? I'm trying to change the value available at position 0 with 10. So I will just delete this one and write 10 over there. So I have just changed the element of list 1, but you see list 2 is also pointing to the same location. Now if you print the content of list 2 at position 0, you will get the value as 10. Okay, so that's the problem. You see here, any change made to either list will be reflected on the other list. But when you write your Python programs, you will have some special situations in which you actually want to separate this list into two different lists in the memory itself, so that any change I make to list 2 will not affect list 1, and any change I make to list 1 will not affect list 2. So how to do that? Now inside Python there are three methods to make distinct copies of list. Distinct means separate copies of list. You can either go with slicing operator, which will separate the list in the memory, or you can use a built-in function called list, which we have studied before, but anyway we will see this again. Okay, this will also create a new list, or you can import a library function called copy, and you can copy list to another place in the memory location. Okay, so now let us see the example, then you will understand it clearly. So here again, see there are three programs, right? All the three methods, that is through slicing, using the list function, or using the copy function, is mentioned over here. We will run any one. So maybe I will just run the first program and show the result after I explain all the three. Now if I write list 2 is equal to list 1, then list 2 will point to the same location. I don't want that. Okay, so in memory now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and list 1 is pointing to it. Now what I need is that I have to create a copy of this list again in memory, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want to point list 2 to it, so that if I change list 2 now, it will not affect list 1. And if I change list 1, it will not affect list 2. And we are going to study 3 methods for achieving this. Okay, so the first method we will see now. Now the first method is through slicing. So when I create list 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it will create this memory unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and list 1 will point to it. Next, you see I am using the slicing operation without any values inside it. So the first value will be taken as 0, the last value will be taken as end of list, so the entire list will be taken and it will be copied into list 2, right? So slicing operator, it will not ask list 2 to refer to the same list. It will create a separate list in the memory and list 2 will be pointing to that. Now how do you understand that they are pointing to different location? So to make it clear, I am going to change the value available in list 2 at index position 1 to 20. So index position 1, right now I have 2. So I will remove this 2 and I will enter the new value 20 over there. After that, I am trying to print the content of list 1. You can see it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After that, when I print the content of list 2, it will print 1, 20, 3, 4, 5. So now it's clear that list 1 and list 2 are separated in memory, because when I change the content of list 2, it is affected only in list 2. So when you run the program, you will understand. So now the next way of doing the same thing is by using the list function. Right, so you create list 1. After that, you will use list built-in function with argument list 1. So it will take the entire content of list 1 and create a new list 2. Now list 2 will be separate in memory. So if you run this program also, you will see value 20 will be added only to list 2. In the third method, you have to import a module called copy. Now we have studied how to import module in the previous videos, right? So you have to import a module called copy. After that, you create list 1, and after that I have to call a function copy inside module copy. So that is why this copy is coming twice, because the module name and the function name happens to be copy. And inside the function copy, I have to give the argument as list 1. Now it will take the entire content of list 1. It will create a new list 2 separate in memory. And if I change the value 20 in list 2, it will be affected only in list 2. So now let us run this first program and see the result. So now let me run this. So here you can see the first print statement is printing the content of list 1. So list 1 has the original content 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the second print statement is printing the content of list 2, where we change the value 2 to 20. So only in list 2, the value 2 got changed to 20. But if you change this program like this, so now you can see in this fifth line, I am just asking list 2 to refer to the same memory location where list 1 is there. Now both list 2 and list 1 is pointing to the same memory location. Now if I change the value of list 2, that will affect list 1. So now let us run this. You see, both list 1 and list 2, the value got changed to 20 at index 1. Okay, so if you don't want this to happen, if you want them to be separate list, you can use any one of the technique that we have discussed now, either with list function or with copy function inside module copy or with slicing operator. So now let us continue. Okay, now we will discuss this program where we will send list 1 as argument to function, and inside function I will just increment the value, and then we will understand list 1 and list 2 were actually pointing to the same list inside the memory. Okay, so that is called pass by reference. Okay, I'm not passing the value, I'm passing the actual memory location to the function, and then if I change the values based on that memory, it will get affected in both the variables list 1 and list 2. Okay, so now let us start the program, you'll understand. So first I will see my function definition. Okay, so the name of the function is increment. It is expecting a list to this variable list 2. Now the control will come down here. after the function body. Now there I will create list 1 with value 5, 15, 25, 35 and 45. Now in memory this list will be created and the variable list 1 will now point to it, and the ID of list 1 will be a random number, something like this, right? So assume that this is the ID that is obtained by list 1, and after that I am trying to print the ID of list 1. Okay, so here I will get the output as 171631516. Okay, that is the ID of list 1. Now I will print the value of list 1 before the function call. So before I go to the function, I am just printing the content of list 1. So again the value printed will be the same value that I have inputted here. So 5, 15, 25, 35 and 45 will be printed, and after that I'm calling the function increment with the content of list 1. Now the control will go to the function call, and there a new variable list2 is accepting this list 1. Now Python will create a new variable called list2, and it will also point to the same memory location. So now you should understand the ID value of list 2 also will be the same number as list 1. Okay, 171631516. Okay, it will be same because they are referring to the same memory location. So now inside the function I am printing the ID of list 2. So here the output will be 171631516, and it will be same with list 1. See, this is just a number that I am writing here. When you run the program, this number will be different, but what I am trying to say is that whatever be the number for list 1 and list 2, it will be the same. Okay, now I will go to my for loop. There I am trying to increment each of this value with 5. So now for loop will run from 0 to length of list. So here you can see length of list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now the range will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that match perfectly with the index value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So first value 0 will be loaded into I. Now inside the for loop I will do list2 of 0, because the value of I is 0 now, is equal to list2 of index value 0 plus 5. So what is the value available at index value 0? Right, that's the first number, which is 5. So it will add 5 plus 5, so that is 10, will be stored into list2 of 0. So now it will remove this 5 and it will write 10 over there. Now we see list 1 is also pointing to this, so this change will affect list 1 even though we are changing the value using list 2. That is a concept that you have to understand with this program. So now the next value 1 will be loaded into I. Okay, so now this will change. List2 of 1 is equal to list2 of 1 plus 5. So now what is the value of list2 of 1? That is 15. So 15 plus 5, 20 will be loaded into list2 of 1. So now 15 will be removed and 20 will be written there. So once this for loop is done, all the value in list 2 will be incremented with 5. So now the new value will be 30, 40 and 50. Okay, so now after the for loop is finished, now the control will come back to the function call itself. Now I will print list after the function call. Now I am printing list 1, not list 2. I'm trying to print list 1, but now when you print list 1, you will see the result as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, because you see list 1 is also pointing to the same memory location, and whatever change list 2 made to here will reflect in list 1. So now let me run the program. You can see the result here. So let us go with each print statement. So first I am trying to print the ID of list 1. Okay, so we can see the ID of list 1 is 6362942. Next I am trying to print the content of list 1. So here you can see the content of list 1 is 515, 25, 35, 45, the same number that I have entered to list 1. After that I call the function increment with the argument list 1. So now the control will come to function increment. Now inside that, first I will print the ID of list 2. So now you can see the ID of list 2 and ID of list 1 are same. So now you should understand list 2 didn't create a new list at all. It is using the same memory location of list 1 by pointing to it. And after that, I will increment the value of list 2 by 5. Okay, so when I say list 2, you should understand it is same as list 1. There is no difference. Now the control will come back to the function call. And after that, I will print list after the function call, and I print the content of list 1. The content of list 1 got changed to the new value. So now it is clear that even though I changed the content of list 2, I was actually changing the content of list 1 also, because both of them was referring to the same single list stored inside the memory. Okay, so now let us see the next program where we can separate the list and work on them individually. So here we are trying to create a new list with new memory allocation inside the function, and then we are going to work on that. So we will not be changing anything in the primary list. Okay, so here also we have the same increment function. Now I will come down. Now first I will allocate list 1. So here you can see in memory I have allocated list 1 with all the elements. List 1 now points to it, and for example we say the ID of list 1 is now 71635. So now the next statement, I'll try to print the ID of list 1. So here it will be printed 71635. Okay, the ID of list 1. Now I'll print the content of list 1 before I call the function. So here the output will be 241097. Okay, whatever is the content of list 1 will be printed. Then I will call the function increment with list 1. Now the control will come to the function definition. So here I create a new variable list 2, and now list 2 points to the same list. Now if I print the ID of list 2, you will see it is same as list 1. So this will print 71635. But next line, I am trying to separate the list. Now we already have studied 3 methods for doing it. You can do with list function as mentioned here, or you can use the slicing operator, or you can go with the copy function defined inside copy module. Okay, so here we will use the list function itself. So now list function will recreate list from the elements of list 2, and it will create a new list, list 3. But here the advantage is that list function will allocate a new memory unit. It will copy the same value, but this is going to be a different list. And now it will create a new variable list 3 that will be pointing to the new list. Now the ID of this list 3 will be different from list 2 and list 1, right? Because it is pointing to a different memory location. So now maybe the ID is 81675. So now next statement, I'm trying to print the ID of list 3. So here it will print 81675, a different ID when compared to list 1 and list 2. Now inside the for loop, I am trying to find the square of each value. So it will read the value one at a time. So first it will read list 3 of 0, and then it will multiply this value with itself. Okay, list 3 of 0 into list 3 of 0. So right now list 3 of 0 is 2. So 2 into 2, 4 will be stored as the new element inside list 3 0. So the first element will become 4. Now the next time value 1 will be copied to I. Okay, so this will become 1, 1 and 1. So list 3 of 1 is 4, the second element in the list. So 4 into 4, so the answer is 16, is stored as the new element into the same location. So here it will be 16. So basically it will read each element in the list, it will multiply it to itself. It is trying to find the square of each of the terms. So the next value will become 100, it will become 81, and this will become 7 into 7, 49. So this is a new list. And after that I will print the squared list 3. So this will print out the current value of list 3, which is 4, 16, 100, 81 and 49. Now our function is finished. The control will come back to function call, and now I'll go to the next line. I am trying to print list 1 over here. Now you see I worked on a separate memory location, so inside list 1 nothing is changed. List 1 has the original values. Now if you print list 1, it will just print 2, 4, 10, 9 and 7 because the values are not changed. So now let us run this program. So now I create the list 1. First I am printing the ID of list 1. So you can see this is the ID that I got. Now then I'll print the content of list 1. You can see the same content that I have inputted to list 1 is printed here. Next I will call the function increment. So the control will come to the function. Now inside function I'm trying to print the ID of list 2. So now you see list 2 and list 1 has same ID. They point to the same location. Now if I try to work on list 2, it will change the content of list 1 also. So that is what we have studied in the previous program. But now what I did, I created a new list 3 with the function list. This will create a copy of list 2 in a separate memory unit, and list 3 will point to the new memory location. So how do you understand that? You print the ID of list 3 and you see the ID of list 3 is different when you compare with the ID of list 2 and list 1. So now list 3 is pointing to a different location in memory, and after that you find the square of each term. So here you can write actually square list. Okay, so now I'll just execute it again. So now you see the ID values have changed because I have executed again. Now our list is getting a different memory location, but still the idea is same. You understand, list 1 and list 2 have same ID. List 3 has a different ID. So that's the point. Okay, so memory location will change each time I run it. Now inside the for loop, I will just find the square of each term, and after that I'm printing list 3. So here you can see the square of list. So this is a new content of list 3. Okay, 4, 16, 100, 81 and 49. Now the function is finished. Now the control will come back to the function call, and then it will continue. Next I am printing the content of list 1, and when I print list 1, you can see list 1 data is not changed at all. With this we'll wind up this session. In the next session we will be seeing programs related to list.